Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story comes from ReverendMuddyGrimes from the relationship subreddit and says, sister-in-law told me my wife cheated while on vacation. The players in this drama, my wife, for the purpose of this post, should be called Anne, female 47, my sister-in-law, female 40, who we shall call Shannon, sister-in-law's cheating partner, male mid-40s, known hereafter as Tony, and myself, male, so close to 50 that I can reach out and slap it. Oh, I don't know why that's funny. We shall refer to me as me. Usual disclaimers of cell phone and English is my first language. I just suck at it. So my wife had to travel to her stepfather's house. He's in very poor health and she went there to help set up home health. She was there for a week and we were in constant contact. Her sister is a drunk and a drug addict. At several points during the visit, we're on video chat when Shannon came into the room where my wife and her father were. She was buck-ass naked, raging drunk in front of her father. I was mortified, and I'm sure he was too. Now, Shannon is married but separated. She has a live-in boyfriend. Tony is my father-in-law's primary caregiver. The flight home, Anne missed her flight. Tony was driving her to the airport. There was an unusual amount of road construction and they arrived late. She had to take a different flight. Not a big deal. After she was home for a few days, the following text exchange happened between me and Shannon. Shannon said, "They fucked." I said, "Who? And did you film it? We could make a fortune on Pornhub." Shannon replied, "I saw him leaving her room and smiling. You know she didn't miss her flight. He ain't denying it." I said, "Well, if they did, he's the luckiest man alive." Now guys, I know I have a better chance of creating a fart-powered personal jet than this story has of being true. It's just not in her nature. That said, damn that woman to the depths of Detroit's South Side for putting the idea in my head. So the question, how do I deal with a crazy drunk 80-pound woman from 1,000 miles away? I can't block her because the rest of her family has. If something happens to the father-in-law while Tony is at work, I'm the only one she can contact. So in the comments, Indian Blanket comes in and says, tell Tony you're blocking Shannon and to please contact you directly with any updates he receives from Shannon while he's at work. Block Shannon, call Dad daily. Edge City Red says, yeah, I had a former friend like Shannon. A heavy drinker, mental issues, no offense intended to people dealing with mental issues, but this was the main factor in that case. Major liar who would fixate on specific things to lie about. I did block this person in every conceivable way, but I can't think of anything else to do in your situation but ignore the behavior since you have to be in contact. Or you and your wife could just talk to Tony about the father-in-law with the understanding that if Tony quits being the caregiver or breaks up with Shannon, he passes your contact info to the next caregiver. If something happens when Tony is at work, he'd still probably know before you. Anyway, there's nothing to worry about with the wife anyway. You're too funny to dump. Which Opie replied saying, too funny to dump. I have a host of exes that would strongly disagree. Unless you meant funny looking, then they would come down solidly on your side. Opie came in with their first update and said, several months ago, my drunk of a sister-in-law, female 40, told me, male 50, that my wife of 12 years, female 47, cheated on me while setting up her stepdad's home health in Detroit. I, of course, didn't believe her. A lot has happened since then. First, we all went up for Christmas. While we were there, sister-in-law, I called her Shannon in the original post, stormed in and claimed that my wife was having sex with her boyfriend Tony on the front porch. Two problems with that. It's Detroit in December, so it's cold as a well digger's ass outside. What's that? So, two, my wife is in the chair next to mine. Sister-in-law ended up assaulting Tony right after I returned home. She ended up in jail where she was placed on a 3-day psych hold. Apparently being a drunken meth addict makes you crazy. Who knew? Mid-January, my father-in-law passed away. This sent sister-in-law into a spiral, especially when she found out that she couldn't stay in the family home anymore as it had to be sold. She was given $35,000 from her father's retirement to get a new place, and and hold her over until the sale of the house. My sister and I drove up to prepare the house to go on the market. Y'all, I've been in nasty houses before, but not like this. My father-in-law kept this place immaculate. Now, in just 2 months, it qualifies for an episode of Hoarders. There is dog crap halfway up the walls in the den. I didn't even know dogs could poop that high. There were several empty bottles of $350 tequila in the living room. We figure that she will have drank her entire inheritance in 6 months. We had to rent a dumpster for me to shovel all of her garbage into. Obviously, I changed the locks and garage door codes. I'm a career garage door installer, so that part was easily done. Even more obviously, all those people who responded to the original post that my wife cheated were very wrong. Edit. The dog is a Chihuahua. We assume that it did its doggy business off the back of the couch, since we had to move the couch to find what was causing the smell. We can't take the dog because sister-in-law refuses to see us. TLDR, wife, who knew I didn't cheat, though her sister claims she did, was exonerated because her sister is batshit crazy from meth and alcohol. On the back of that, before the next update, there were a couple of comments. First one said, "Sir, given that she is an alcoholic with a meth addiction, I would assume that was not dog poop on the walls. Alcoholics tend to have issues with their digestive system, and meth and alcohol mess with judgment, and a person caring if they pooped on the wall. Good luck with the house, and I'm sorry that your sister-in-law is making things so much more difficult for you during the loss of your wife's father." Elfich says, "If she's making meth in the house, you need a decon team to clean up the site." Opie responds saying she doesn't make it, just uses. We know this by the amount of dealers that father-in-law had to chase off. Opie came in with a second update and says, "I mentioned in my last post that my father-in-law passed away. From insurance and his retirement, both his daughters received $104K before taxes. We paid our taxes up front, leaving us just over $80K. We really don't have much debt, so we put it all on our house. My sister-in-law, however, chose to accept a lump sum. In the update, when she had gotten the first installment of $35K, I said she would have drank it all in 6 months. Apparently, I'm a very optimistic man. She's drank, shot up, and snorted the entire $104K in less than 3 months. Through most of the high times, she sent my wife incredibly awful texts claiming that her dad never loved her. Technically, it was my wife's stepdad. One of the claims made was that if he loved her, he would have adopted her. Sister-in-law was too young to remember, but he did try. Her birth father wouldn't sign off on it. Anyway, she's out of money. My wife is getting around a dozen slurred phone calls a day begging her to let sister-in-law sleep on our couch. This is a giant hell no from us. We expect to hear any day that she's been found dead." So the comments on this, Crom says, "Sounds like you have your head on your shoulders. Sister-in-law sounds like a nightmare. Money can wreck a family if it's not handled carefully. I've seen it happen several times. People live like there's going to be a big payout at the end, or like they deserve something." Hunt Environmental says, "Do you think in 3 months, Opie will be back here because Anne took the $80K and ran off with Tony?" Opie says $80K is gone. It went on our mortgage. As for Tony, he disappeared when the sister-in-law ran out of money. Damn, what a rough ending there. And it left me thinking, what happened with the dog as well? I wanted to know that. And it's quite surprising with the comments that were relating to this post, friends or other family members who become addicted to drugs or alcohol or something and totally turn their lives upside down. It's incredibly sad. Obviously, I'm not excusing any of the behavior within the post at all, but it's just sad, isn't it? But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story is one that we have covered in the past, but has a new update attached to it. So if you want to skip parts of the story, as always, feel free to do so. Timestamps are down in the description as always. It's from No Payment 4096 and says, "Am I the arsehole for leaving my wife over a computer? I, 26 male, have been married to my wife Emma for 4 years. She was a social work major who I met in one of my gen ed classes. I explained to her I was a mechanical engineer major. She then asked if I could tutor her in math, and that's how we began dating. Afterwards, I decided to get my master's in Japanese to help me gain more career opportunities. My wife thought it was a silly idea and said she wouldn't be funding it, so then we decided to keep our finances separate. It wasn't a big deal since I was still working anyways. I just had less free time. so she was making more than me during this time. It paid off, and I recently landed a high-paying job, and with that came more stress due to me having to travel to Japan often. I've really been wanting to get into gaming. I invested in computer parts costing around $1,500. Once I took the parts out of the box, my wife noticed the receipt and asked how I could be so irresponsible with my money. She assumed I still made the same amount, but when I told her I make triple that amount, she began giving me the silent treatment. During this time, I began to notice my things were going missing. I wanted to go fishing with some friends one time, and when I was looking for my rods, she must have noticed and said she'd given them to her uncle. I told her not to take my stuff without asking, but didn't mind too much because they were old, so I just bought some more. Another time I was about to go to the gym and I was looking for my pre-workout. I always keep 3 jars. I luckily had a can of Monster and that helped. I asked my wife when she got home from work and she said she gave them to her cousin. I asked her to reimburse me because they cost $50 a jar. She said I make enough to replace them and just ignored me for the rest of the day. One day when she thought I was asleep, she was talking to someone on the phone, explaining how she was going to move my parents into our house. She hadn't explained this to me. We only have 3 rooms. One is our office, one is my office/game room, and the other is our bedroom. She told the person on the phone, who I assume is her sister, that she's going to give my gaming setup to her brother to make room, and that I'll get over it eventually. So today I left work early to catch her in the middle of her plans, and when I walked in our apartment, her and her brother were then placing everything into a box. I asked what was going on, and my wife, whose face was pale, said she was cleaning when her brother came by. I asked him did he plan on taking my computer. Of course, he denied. So I went into the room to get the iPad we share, and I looked through the text on there and it clearly shows my wife telling him when to pick it up and to deny that he had it. I told him to get out and asked her, why does she think she's so entitled to my stuff? I have never yelled at her, and I guess this scared her because she began to cry. She ended up packing a bag and went to stay with her sister. While she was out, I picked up a lock for my office. Her sister texted me calling me an arsehole. I'm beginning to think I could have handled this better. I'm looking for advice. And I'll just give you an overview of the comments because we covered them before, but basically people were saying, this isn't just about the computer. This is the constant making huge decisions without you, lying, stealing from you, manipulating you, etc., etc. The OP's first update came in and said, after about a week staying at her sister's house, Emma called me and asked if we could meet up. I agreed and we met at a park. She apologized for everything and said she thought she was doing what was best for everybody. I asked what if I just gave her expensive makeup to my sister. She admitted that she would be upset. I then asked why did she think it'd be any different from me. She didn't have a reason and her sister told her how unfair she was being to me. We decided to give it another chance and she moved back in. It was good until she started moving her things into my office. I asked her what she was doing and she explained how she needed the room for her parents. I told her no, and that's not happening. I grabbed her things and placed them back into her office. I told her that they could move in, but my space has to remain untouched. On top of that, we need to determine how bills are going to be paid because she called me a selfish jerk and then ran back to her sister's. I guess her sister told her she was being inconsiderate again, and apparently they got into an argument because the sister refuses to take their parents in, and said she's tired of hearing about her problems. I agree with her. Her sister has 4 kids. Her sister called and told me everything and said that Emma went to her parents' house. I tried to call her, but she ignored my phone calls for 2 weeks. I decided I couldn't live like this, so I filed for divorce and handed it to her at her parents' house. She called and begged me to forgive her. I told her I'm not sure if I can. She refused to sign until we go to counseling. I refused and said she had 2 weeks to suggest that. So now I live alone. She still refuses to sign the papers, but that doesn't stop the divorce. It just makes it harder. And people were still screaming in the comments, do not go back to this person in any way. She hasn't changed at all. It's still the same selfish behavior. The very start of that post, it's best for everybody that I give away all your shit. I mean, what kind of logic is that? Batshit crazy logic is what it is. So OP came in with another update and says, so Emma was cheating on me. The rods and pre-workout didn't go to her family. It went to her affair partner. I found this out when her parents invited me over to their house. When I got there, Emma looked sick, like she hadn't eaten for days. Her parents asked why I kicked her out and that me neglecting her has taken a toll on her mental health. Emma sat there silently crying. I explained that I never kicked her out, and Emma refused to talk to me for weeks before I sent the divorce papers. I showed them texts of me practically begging her to come home so we can talk it out. I asked Emma, what did she tell her parents? Her dad chimed in, saying that I went back on my word about letting her brother stay with me. I asked what they were talking about, and the reason we got into an argument is because they were supposed to move in. Emma ran to her room before she could be questioned. Her parents explained that they were happy with their home and had no plans to leave. I then showed them the text from her sister, Mary, explaining how Emma was mad at her because she couldn't take her parents in. They were confused. I was confused. So her parents called Mary to have her explain. Her brother, Jake, was also there. Emma just explained everything. Emma was cheating on me. Jake caught her and kinda blackmailed her. So he was a freshman in high school and we live in a better district where basketball recruiting is more likely to happen. Emma thought I'd be more inclined to say yes if I thought it was her parents moving in. Emma's parents called her downstairs immediately. She was listening and began to tell her side. Her affair partner's wife found out, and so he thought that the relationship was over because she kicked him out of the house. He convinced Emma to quit her job because he had got a job opportunity in a different state. But he was secretly meeting with his wife and they got back together. He hadn't put in his 2 weeks yet, so his life resumed normally. Emma, on the other hand, didn't even put in her 2 weeks and just stopped showing up, and she was fired. And when her affair partner told her it's over, she went into a depression and tried to call me so we can go to counseling. I told her it's over and asked that she sign the paperwork so this divorce can go smoothly. She begged for another chance, but I just left her crying. Her parents informed me later that night that Emma was in the hospital from an OD of pills. I just ignored it. Her dad is asking her that I come visit to show I care. I text back, I don't care. I don't know what to do. The moment I found out about the affair, I fell out of love. But I feel cruel not going to visit her. Nah, you don't go visit her, it's as simple as that. It's not your responsibility to, and I'm not meaning to sound harsh in any way. I wish her a swift recovery, absolutely, but it's not OP's responsibility. It's not on OP. These are the choices that she's made, and it's time to just cut yourself off from that family completely. It's going to do you no good staying a part of that drama. Couple of comments from the top on that one. Inside Ad says she's sorry for ruining her life. If she had the guy she was cheating with, she'd be dandy. Divorce her and don't visit. She sounds toxic. She made her bed, let her lie in it. Sorry you're going through it, man. Good luck. Tifu says this. She is only asking for a second chance because the other guy threw her as the garbage she is. Do not take more calls from her parents or siblings until she signs her divorce papers. Let them know this. Until she signs, there is no more contact. Period. And never contact her again. Even if she travels to Leverkusen, Germany, and takes all the pills she can find at Bayern's. Yomi says, Emma was happily cheating on you and even giving your things to her affair partner. You tried again and again to salvage your relationship with her, but she has been planning to leave you from the start. It was only after you gave up and her affair partner left her that she realized just how badly she'd destroyed her life. And quotes, her parents informed me later that night that Emma was in the hospital from an OD of pills. I just ignored it. The dad is asking that I come visit to show I care. I text back that I don't care. And then says, she cheated on me for months, if not years. She stole my belongings to gift the man she was cheating on me with. She rebuffed any attempts I made towards helping our relationship. She constantly lied to me. She only wanted to fix things after her affair partner cut her loose. She destroyed any love or care I had for her. Not the arsehole. Jake can go fuck himself. He was willing to cover for his sister in exchange for moving in with you two. Now, what do you guys make of this situation? Is there any way that you would consider going to the hospital to make that visit, or would you just be cutting this family out completely? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Yeah, man, I remember being so naive when life was good, weather and palm trees. Back in the day, you were everything I need. But then along came a time when you crushed my dreams. Oh yeah, you played me like a fool, and you made me believe that the line between love wasn't thick enough to read. Oh yeah, you see we in despair, crime everywhere. You're selling false hope cause you just don't care. Nah, you just don't care. Nah,